MCB4, Business License Permits Committee. I see most of us are here. We certainly have a quorum. I welcome the applicants. I welcome the attorneys. As you know, we make recommendations. We don't have a final say on a yes or a no. We make recommendations. We have a conversation with the applicants, listen to the community, and most of you are familiar with, I'm talking with the attorneys, that we add often stipulations to what your methods of operation are. And from here, within our board structure, our recommendations go to the full board, which meets the first Wednesday of each month. And in June, that's the 3rd, June 3rd. So all the resolutions here go from here, June 3rd, to the full board. Okay.
So I should mention, as you may have gathered, that Bert Lazarin has returned as the co-chair of the BLP committee. He had been the chair of the entire community board for the past 2 years. Yoni Boxer, who had been the co-chair, has moved out of the district, so he is no longer a member of CB4. A couple agenda comments. Item 5, 305 West 48th has been postponed and won't be heard tonight. We had planned to have a short presentation by the Department of Buildings that asked to speak to us at the start of the agenda. We'll see if that person is here by the time we start. And after the 4 applicants, we'd like to have a short discussion about the city's consideration of allowing restaurants to expand to the streets and sidewalks to allow for more distance dining. Just a few sort of housekeeping things. The state order that allows community board meetings to be held as virtual meetings requires that the meetings, that the public have the ability to listen to the meeting in real time and the recording be made. Accordingly, this meeting is being recorded and is being concurrently streamed on MCB4's YouTube channel. A video of this meeting will be posted on the channel once we're done. As Bert said, we'll run the meeting the way we always have. Bert will call each applicant. We'll hear from the applicant. We'll have some committee discussion and then take some questions, if any, from the public. At the end, Nellie will conduct a roll call vote. I think everyone on here is probably pretty familiar with Zoom by this point, but this meeting is being held as a Zoom webinar, which is a little different. The only people you can see on your screen and the only people who can currently speak are what's called the panelists. And at the moment, the panelists are the committee members, our Assistant District Manager, Nellie Gonzalez, and the applicants and their representatives. We ask all the panelists to mute their microphones when they're not speaking. For members of the public, as we call each agenda item, we will ask if anyone from the community wants to speak on that item. If you do want to speak, you can notify us by one of 2 ways. If you're participating via Zoom, you click on the participants box at the bottom of the screen and then click on your name, which should be at the top of the list. There's then a button to raise your hand. And if you're participating by phone, you can raise your hand by pressing 9G. Nellie will then move anyone who raised their hand from participant to a panelist status, which allow you to speak on that item. And then finally, if you have any questions or issues during the meeting, please use the chat function, which is also at the bottom of the screen, and address your comments to Nellie Gonzalez. I think we have 9 of the 10 present committee members online now. We're expecting the 10th, Christine Berthet. I think everyone is identified as a committee member except Brian Sokal, who's a committee member, and we have Rob Walker, who's the person on by phone. With that, I think I will turn it over to Bert.
Yeah, just 2 things logistically. I just got a text I hate this because it doesn't say, I don't know the number, but Nellie, somebody's saying they cannot, they don't have the Zoom link. If you could send it to them, I can give you the phone number if you want.
Okay.
646-623-2689.
Okay. I think I know who that is. I'll take care of it.
Okay, very good. And I think Frank mentioned this, but I just want to emphasize it again. The way we're operating, it's self-respect and respect of others and self-regulating, i.e. meaning we don't speak over each other and we mute or unmute ourselves as we speak or want to speak. I'm not going to be calling on, we're not doing a, raised hand or any of that. We're doing it as if we were in the room together. And my recollection of the committee is we don't scream at each other or cut each other off. So I assume we'll do it the same way here. Okay? So I'd like to go to item number 1.
Bert, just one thing, Nellie, it looks like a couple of the applicants are in here as participants, not panelists. They're later on the agenda, but you might move them over.
Okay.
Sorry,
I'll
Bert,
take
go
care of
ahead.
it.
And then I also do have a question. I can see, the panelists and the applicants. Are there any members of the community here that we can't see? Nellie, you would know.
Yeah, Bert, you can look at the participant list and just look at attendees.
I see we have 22%. I have 22 participants. So that means there are more people here than I could see.
Yeah,
Okay.
It looks like there are four or five non-panelists, mostly on by phone.
Right, yeah, okay. Very good. And the person from the Department of Buildings is still not here. Okay. So can we go on to item number 1, which is the vault, 16th Street.
This is Bob Romano. I am here with Michael Gankars, applicant. This is for a class change from a current catering license to an on-premise 252 tavern license. We are intending to make no changes physically to the premise except in the instance of where we will have to do what we will be required to do, and then we'll even go beyond that for social spacing, social distancing. But once the premise gets going to full speed, hopefully sooner rather than later in the mix of everything going on, it will be run as an upscale wine and small batch distillery facility, catering to a higher end clientele, an older clientele. It certainly will be less offensive, if you'd like to use that, if I use that term, than any use it's been so far, which no one seems to have an objection. It's been running. Michael has had private events there as a catering facility without incident. We expect the same to follow. If anything, it'll be an older crowd, and as I said, a more affluent crowd. We plan on offering wines that you will not be able to get pretty much anywhere else unless you're in a private residence. Michael, you can explain about some of the wines that you intend to serve here.
Yeah, there is an opportunity because the restaurants have not taken a lot of their higher end allocations. The distributors have approached me with this idea. I mentioned we were afraid, we wouldn't get any business with corporate events or even big events. And they said, you could just open it up as a regular venue and we could give you some really high-end wines to pour for people. Our next door neighbor is a wine storage facility and a Budokan back kitchen area. It's a certified World War II fallout shelter. It's a large space. We figure if we could control the volume of people, then with the opportunity from the distributors, we could pour some very expensive wines for a very affordable price, you know, a fourth of what the retail value would be. And by glass, it would come down to, you know, between $50 and $80 for some very high-end product that even at a restaurant, you would spend $300 or $400 just for glass. The reason that we chose to go with the higher end market and this style is we did a lot of our best events were for charities. And we believe we could get that room full appropriately for the times and raise money for a lot of local charities and, you know, do a lot of things to help the community. And those wines seem to bring the right people to donate money. And we'll definitely do a lot of regular product also. But I guess there's some niche market between restaurant and retail that maybe has never existed before. At least that's our opportunity.
Right, and this place is located, as Michael stated, it's in the basement of Chelsea Market. It's a vault. It's called the Vault for a reason. And as far as interference sound with neighbors, the only potential for any interference with neighborhood would be upstairs outside, and that will be certainly regulated, very well regulated. We also don't anticipate huge crowds. This is going to be, you know, I think the capacity is 112 people, but it doesn't, Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, but in our discussions, it didn't sound like you're expecting to fill the place up every night. That's not the goal. The goal here is to maybe have 1 or 2 seatings, full seatings a night, not 3, 4, you know, not huge turnover.
No, our catering tables are exactly 6 feet round glass. So if you were on one end and I was on the other, we would be 8 feet apart. And we have many of them, more than we would use for events. So we could fill the room and literally make people socially distant from each other. And the room is much, much larger than would be needed for this type of a space, but we just don't feel like events will be anything that anyone will attend in, you know, they will not demand events anytime soon. So this is the best we could think of.
And as far as the live music, I just want to point out there are 2 pianos in there, 2 grand pianos in there. And that's a kind of, that would be the type of instruments. It would be non-amplified music. There is a beautiful sound system in there that Michael had installed. That I don't think it's available anywhere else in the certainly in the city, but maybe a select few places in the country. This sound system, and it does not. The sound does not emanate beyond the 4 walls.
Yeah, it's 67 inches of brick between the basement and the main floors of Chelsea Market.
Right, and obviously the landlord here, everybody I'm sure is aware, is not going to allow some wild nightclub. This is not what Michael is intending to do whatsoever. Anything but.
So this is on the same level as, what do they call it? The Chelsea Local?
Yes.
And access, so it's in the same level as Chelsea Local. I would imagine then it's, because the address is 410, so it's to the east of Chelsea Local? And that part of the building?
Yes, it is. If you know the building well, it's next to the loading dock that they use for the garbage of the building.
I don't usually hang out there.
Most right next door to the garbage and Budokan.
Okay, okay. So
It's been running as a catering facility for a while now without any incident whatsoever.
okay.
Okay. Just some context for the committee. As Robert's mentioned, we previously recommended approval for this in 2018 as a catering license. The hours were shorter. They were 9 a.m. to midnight at that point. Robert, I have a couple questions. The occupancy numbers 2 years ago were almost double what you have now. Has something changed, or did you just clarify the C of O? Because in 2018, your form said the C of O was 225, and now it says it's 112.
I can answer that question if you want, Bob.
Go ahead.
So they did it based on, weirdly enough, probably social distancing rules. They did it based by seated. Standing, it's supposed to be 260 or 244. But they did the count based on seated tables. So for like a seated restaurant, they have it as 112.
Well, except your C of O doesn't vary with how your use or how you seat people. It's just the maximum people the Department of Buildings would ever let you put in there. So I think we need to get the right C of O number. And as I said, 2 years ago, you had 225. I don't know if that's the right number.
Well, our application to the Liquor Authority is going to state the maximum occupancy of the place is 112. So we will not be looking to pack another 100 people in there.
Okay.
We'll be making sure we don't.
Okay. In terms of music on the form on page 2, you didn't circle anything, but I gather from what you just said and from your public interest statement, you're going to have background live music, DJ, and karaoke?
Yes,
Okay.
that was my error. I apologize.
I'll change the form for that.
Thank you.
You also said you're going to have a security plan, and but it doesn't seem to be attached. Do you have one yet?
No, it's going to be based, security is obviously any security would be New York licensed registered security guards, but we don't anticipate an immediate need. If we see that there is going to be congregating outside, absolutely there'll be somebody stationed outside at all times. If there is an event or a Friday, Saturday night where he expects a larger than average crowd or clientele, I don't think we'll ever see crowds there, then there would be an additional 1 or 2 people hired. It would be on an as-needed basis. And one thing I can tell you, having worked with Michael for the last several months, or probably close to a year at this point, he will not cut back on security. He's not going to nickel and dime security. He's going to be very, very careful. There'll be a video surveillance outside that front door, as well as inside the premise.
Okay. So Bert, I'll turn it back over to you to lead the discussion.
Anybody on the committee have a question or comment?
I have 2 questions. The entrance, do you enter from Chelsea Market or do you enter from 15th Street?
16th Street.
16th, I'm in 16th, sorry.
Right,
So you enter
16th.
on 16th toward
Right,
Knox
this is-
Avenue.
Correct.
Okay. And I just don't know about drop off, pickup, traffic, limos. There will be, 100 people going in and out. It sounds like it's going to be popular. You want it to be popular. I just think there should be some kind of a side street. I think there's going to be there needs to be something outside directing cars away from the building, directing people who are going to congregate. It's going to be a very nice place from what it sounds like. So you're going to have people there and it's going to be open till 4 a.m. There are going to be people and there's going to be an issue with that. And then on the music, you said you had a wonderful sound system and you're going to have a DJ, but no amplified music. So
No, I meant amplified live music.
So just acoustic? You're never going to have a guitar player?
Michael,
You're never going to have a jazz trio?
The acoustics down there are naturally really good. So I've heard like people with simple devices and they sound really loud, just to experiment. So I don't think it could handle, any type of like more than, simple, like our own system is honed in for that space potentially. And I think if they were going to use anything, it would just be related to our system that we control, and they cannot do anything additional.
And this system's been in use. I'm sorry to interrupt you. This system's been in use already for months with no complaints from neighbors or even
Right.
in the
So
building.
just for your own purpose, I would say you are going to have amplified music, but you're going to
Okay.
keep it at a low level, because if
Right.
you have a jazz trio, the guitar player has to have a small amplifier.
Correct. Okay.
I would add amplified music for your own benefit. I know it's going to be pretty
Right.
soundproof down there, but don't eliminate that, because it'll
Right.
cause you difficulty. But
Thank
I
you.
do think there should be some kind of, it sounds like it's going to be popular. It's going to be one of those exclusive kind of nice places to go. So you're going to get people there. And I think there'll be a traffic or crowd problem. So I think we should have something for the side street. I don't know whether it be a person or just directing people away and not loitering, or traffic. I don't know.
You know, weirdly enough, the building has a security posted exactly right there. It's a main entrance and exit for some of the office workers. So at night, there's pretty much nobody, but they station a security guard for the building for the garbage at night. So all night, that area is pretty protected by the building. And if we had our own security guards, they would be posted in the front. It's a one-way street. It's very wide. There's no parking really on it. It's very open. So if we ever had a problem like that, I would definitely consider, you know, hiring or calling the local police department and asking for help.
Yeah, I mean, even if you had someone from midnight to 4,
Yeah.
what I mean?
Do that.
You
Yeah.
put someone out there from midnight to 4, because that's when, I think that could only help the person that's already standing there.
Yeah, we'll always have somebody out there if we're open, especially at night, just to guide people, you know, either away from the space that are not coming there, or to help people get into the space. And we'll
Yeah.
keep an eye on the traffic for sure, but I know the building will be too. So
Mm.
they're very hard on us. They will not let us slip on any aspect of security.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian,
For events such as like wine tastings or potentially a jazz concert, do you plan on having seatings, like an 8 p.m. seating, a 10 p.m. seating?
If it was a live performance and we had a demand for that group or person, then yes, we could do multiple events, you know, like an 8 and a 10:30 or a 10. And we do have a lot of events with pretty famous pianists in the past. And I know they want to perform again. They are mostly tied to the Juilliard. But yes, we would definitely, usually with the big ones, it's just one event and then afterwards socializing. But if it was somebody very popular and there was a request, we would like.
Okay, so following up on that, how would you handle the queuing for the 10:30 show once the 8 o'clock show is wrapping up?
We would definitely space them apart from each other, and we would make an announcement at the end, you know, that the performance is over, and please exit by your nearest exit.
Right. Would they be waiting on the street or in Chelsea Market?
The ones coming in for the next show.
You know, right along the building on the side of Budokan, if you could imagine, there's no other door up until 9th Avenue. It's a completely blank wall. That is where the people that would be waiting to come in will come in.
And there would also be additional security hired for evenings like that, and we would commit to that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the problem with a line though is that you do have a residential complex across 16th Street, and 100 people waiting in line could get noisy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me tell you, the traffic on that intersection is louder than any people that we could ever arrange. It's the busiest intersection in the city at night. It's unbelievable. It's full on, sometimes nonstop traffic. And at the end of the day, if we did something like that, we would make sure that the people were not lined up across from the residents. We could bring them in on the other side where the loading dock doors are, and keep keep an eye on them and make sure it doesn't get loud. But that whole intersection is unbelievably loud at night. I don't think we could contribute to the noise, even if.
Well, right now, also, there's a lot of construction on 9th Avenue.
Yeah,
That adds to it.
yeah.
Hopefully, the construction will be over at some point. And so maybe there'll certainly be less need to squeeze traffic into 2 lanes, and it may calm down. But there's also generation of traffic from across the street on the other side of 9th Avenue, where the hotels are.
Yeah, up until 4 in the morning, it is probably one of the busiest intersections in the city. And, I definitely would like to help, make it flow better and be less noisy. And I will make sure that we try our hardest to contribute.
Christine, jump in.
Yeah, that sounds, I'm sorry, I missed the beginning, so I may ask you a question you have already addressed. So it's going to be really high-end wine tasting kind of thing, right? That's what you said?
Yes.
Right. So does it have to go to 4 o'clock, or 2 o'clock is good enough to stop the wine tasting?
We're guessing we're guessing we'll close earlier than that. But if there is ever a private event, we have a next door neighbor that has 650 storage customers, and sometimes these events, they want to be able to go until 4 in the morning. Most of them never make it to that point.
Michael, we also talked about the sommeliers that work at some of these higher end restaurants in the city that after they get off their shifts, want a place that they can go.
This one we have heard so many times.
I know.
This is like, you want, or page 12 of the book, How to Go to CB4.
I know, and I've
This is
pitched
very
that story
funny.
many times.
This is very funny. The second thing is, you say there will be dancing. Is that because you have parties, private parties, etc.?
Potentially, you can't stop people once they've had a few from trying to dance. But we have, such a huge space down there that if we position the tables correctly, they could safely dance. I've never seen more than 70 people try to attempt to dance in that area. But at the end of the day, with the social distancing, we'll definitely be making sure that, people are potentially staying apart from each other. And I think dancing is just too risky at this point.
So at the, adding to the issue of the line and the queue, etc., I think, I don't know how wide is that sidewalk. And you were mentioning that you are next to a garbage. Is the garbage on the sidewalk, or the garbage is in an inside area from the other building?
It's in a loading dock, so both directions on either side of the door. I would say it's over 100 yards of open sidewalk space, never occupied at night. There is no business.
So the sidewalk is not occupied by garbage?
No.
Okay.
All inside.
Yeah, and when you have your queue, are you going to put stanchions out there to organize the queue?
Yeah, we have a stanchion from the Waldorf Astoria, but we are in an inset, so it doesn't extend out to the sidewalk. We have like I would say 5 feet by 8 feet across, a little onset, like an awning of our own from our doorway as part of our structure. So I don't think we will ever be out there on the sidewalk taking up
But if you had 100 people waiting online, as was mentioned by Brian, you would probably have to go on the sidewalk, right?
Well, like I said, that brick wall is so long, I can't imagine how many people it could take, even with social distancing on both sides. But yes, if we ever needed to, we have stanchions available.
So what we want to make sure is that when you put the stanchions, you leave 8 feet of passage for other pedestrians to pass by.
We have enough on that sidewalk for sure. It's probably at least 8 feet from the brick wall to the street.
What I'm saying is that once you have your stanchion and you are taking 4 feet, we want to have 8 feet free for pedestrians. So you cannot
Okay.
have stanchion which are taking over half or 3/4 of the sidewalk.
Yeah, I believe it's over 10 feet. I've never measured it, but I will check on that.
Well, I'd like to have a stipulation about that if we could. That'd be great. That, you know, that.
There also isn't going to be any other pedestrian traffic really there, other than.
Well, you know, you never know when things are being built around you. What we want is to have, we have learned the hard way on the other side of 9th Avenue on 16th Street that, you know, you have parties and then at a point of time, no pedestrian can go through. And, you know, when we have people like nurses, et cetera, and they want to go to work, that's where they go.
We can definitely make that happen, and I'll measure that sidewalk and report back to you on the idea with the stanchions, and if people were in a single file line, what approximately the dimensions would be, for sure.
And be aware that, I'm sure you are aware, I'll remind you that if we have a stipulation
Right.
and you sign for it, then it becomes your method of operation.
Right.
Well, you know, I would say on the left-hand side of our doorway, if we use the driveways of the loading dock, we could fit 100 people, and that's over 15 feet, a driveway coming into the building of space between the street. So we could definitely do it on the left side of the door without a stipulation.
No,
No, with a stipulation.
We could stipulate to that as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
could-
okay.
Is there anybody else on the committee that has a comment, a question?
Yeah, actually, I got a few questions. Can y'all
Go
hear me?
ahead, Rob.
Okay. Prior to this being a catering, was it licensed at all, this space?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. I'm looking at the blueprint that was drawn. During business hours, will the front door be kept open?
During business, the front door will be, most likely there'll be somebody at that front door to open the door for guests coming in and out.
So the front door will not be left open and that music won't be coming up into...
No, absolutely not. And we can stipulate to that.
Okay. Is there a secondary door down below that'll prevent that from happening?
Yes, and it is soundproofed. Both doors are soundproof with elevator shaft metal. They're custom
It
doors.
doesn't show on the blueprint, but you're saying there is a door at the bottom of those steps.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The other thing is, have you reached out to Fulton Housing? Because, I mean, hypothetically, when social distancing is in our rearview mirror, there's nothing to stop this from being a nightclub open until 4 o'clock in the morning. So have you reached out to the community, especially the people right across the street, less than 100 feet away, and said, hey, you know, we want to make sure you're on board with this? Have you reached out to these people?
Well, that is there is an idea of doing toy drives out of that location for the neighborhood. We just never got it done in time, but we definitely want to engage the neighbors in the neighborhood. And we definitely think now with what's going on, we're going to do some things that definitely affect the neighborhood. So we'll be in
What I'm saying is, have you reached out to their community in the process of you looking to get this liquor license? Have you reached out to them recently?
We did for the, okay, we did originally, we sent out notice to all the surrounding, the list from Nelly. I did that as well for this license and for the catering license. It was done.
But that's different. That's a catering license.
Oh, no. And it's been done for this change as well, for this class change as well.
Okay.
I send out, it must have been 20 to 20 different, whatever was on Nelly's list, they got it. And I didn't get any returns. The other thing I want to point out is this place will be as or less. It's not going to be have any more of an impact than it already has on the neighborhood. It has been filled to capacity with the sound at whatever level Michael had the sound at, with 0 complaints. And probably 0 knowledge to most people around the block that it even was open.
Yeah, but that was when it was a catering. When it's presumptively a wine bar, you're going to have lines. You're going to have people wanting to see that band or those performers come in. So it is going to have a line. What are you going to do to mitigate sound, smoking from people hanging out or in between?
There will
Sets.
be anywhere from 1 to 3, or depending on the evening, depending on the expected number of patrons, security. There'll be live security. As I said, there'll always be somebody at that front door to welcome people who will have a dual role as security and door person.
So you'll disband anyone from smoking, gathering, chatting,
Oh, absolutely.
because, you know, there are people less than 30, 40 feet across the way from your entrance right there. And I'm
Right.
sure, you know, they're not going to want to hear 7 days a week, 4 o'clock in the morning, patrons coming in and out when they're trying to sleep or get to work the next morning.
No, I can tell you, even from knowing Michael on a personal note, he's extremely anti-smoking. So that will be a top priority to make sure that we don't have congregants around the outside smoking.
Would you be putting in a winter shelter entrance?
Not looking to do that because a couple of things. Number one, it's going to be a rare evening, but hopefully it will occur that we have a crowd, that we have people lining up outside. For the most part, we expect this place to be milquetoast. It's going to be basically a very dignified, quiet, other than a classy place. Michael, I know he took all these, not all, but he took a major amount of the silverware and glassware from the Waldorf Astoria. He wants to create an old-time, upscale evening place. It's not a supper club, but it will be an evening club.
But that was not the question, though. The question was, are you going to install one of those plastic vestibule outside? And we just need a yes or no.
The answer would be no, and if we did, we would come before the board to gain approval before that.
No, you need to comply with the city, which requires that it would be no more than 18 inches.
Oh, no. I know, of course, but my point is that before we even go to the city, we would get approval from the board.
You don't need to, as long as it's less than 18 inches, that
Okay.
it's legal.
Any other comments from members?
That's it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rob, thank
Yeah,
you.
Bert, we have on the chat some comments from the public.
That's what I'm asking about now. We
Okay.
should go there next. Are they here live?
Well, no, they just put it in chat. The questions were basically about the need for a DJ and then if you had private events such as weddings or fashion week, will the people who are having the private events bring their own bands and DJs and things like that?
Michael?
We vet pretty much every option, offer that people have. So, we really want to be in control of the space. We really, I want to operate it myself. I had a professional doctor of sound help me with the acoustic system. And we just feel like, it's a great space that if, you had people in town and wanted to show them this space, we believe you might come to us and then go to dinner at Budokan. And I think we'll be in control of that space. We won't be renting it out to any people and letting them just do whatever they want.
There will not be any promoters, no promoters. Anybody looking to have a private event there, which he's not looking to have them on a regular basis. That's exactly what we're going away from. We're going from a catering to open to the public space. But in the event that he does rent out for a wedding, for example, it would be a mutually acceptable musician or band. And as far as a DJ, I find it funny. I always found it funny that people can object to a DJ, but you can have recorded music. And really the only difference is the presence of somebody standing up there. The music is the same. The DJ may have a better read on the people in the place, but he's not going to have a DJ there very often if he does. It's not that type of a venue.
I think the concern is that a live DJ, sort of fosters more of a club environment.
Right.
Than the same recorded music played without a live person.
Creates a different atmosphere.
Yeah. Michael, I take it in terms of the DJ, you don't see any change from the volume and the frequency of what you did in the past to what you're going to be doing going forward, correct?
No, we're much more likely to have like a world famous pianist down there. I mean, no offense to DJs, than we would, on a DJ. If we had like, an offer from somebody in the building, a YouTube or Google wanted to do something with a DJ, we would probably shut it down and just rent it out to them as a private space and keep both of those doors, sealed. It is a World War II fallout shelter. Everything we have is soundproof and fireproof. But yeah, if it was a DJ situation, we would probably, make it a private event. We would not have it open to the public.
Okay.
You risk that it would be too loud outside.
Okay, I have a sense that the question has been answered. Are there any other questions? I don't see any other questions on the chat, Frank. Do you?
No. I guess the only remaining question I have is if anyone on the committee is concerned about increasing the hours from midnight to 4.
I do. Maybe if they add a few more hours in the beginning in case someone wants to do something before noontime, maybe like 10. But I think maybe 2 o'clock would be great, Monday through Thursday, and then maybe Friday, Saturday, do a 4 a.m. if at all.
Well, that's Michael.
I would just say for business purposes, some people make more money in these types of jobs between 2 and 4 in the morning. And really to get the best workers, the high-end drink makers and the really good workers, when you say you can be open till 4 in the morning, even if you don't, people want to work at your space and they know they can make serious money. Otherwise we're going to lose a lot of good workers to a lot of other places that are able to stay open till 4. My dad was a bartender my whole life, so I know that firsthand. He paid for my entire life, probably between the hours of 2 and 4. So selfishly, I would ask for the workers that we could be open till 4, and I will personally make sure we're never letting anyone in past 3:30.
So, can we clarify what is on the other side of 16th Street, across the street from
Fulton.
their operation?
Fulton.
Fulton Houses.
Fulton Houses. Okay.
Fulton Housing.
So it's a
50 away.
residential street in a sense, right?
The north side of the street.
Yeah. And then on that block, is there any other bar, restaurant operation, liquor license just on that block?
There's 2 other nightclubs open late. One used to be above Western Beef, and I think there's one next to it called Oak. So there's
Oak
like
is
2 or
on
3 of them.
17th.
This is that 17th Street,
Oak
Rob.
is
16th Street.
Right.
Oh,
And
sorry.
the
about
other
that.
one, the other one is more like a concert venue, but I don't know that it has been open lately. Is it?
No, it's closed.
Yeah. Okay. So I
And
think
there are across the street on 9th Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I'm talking about that specific block. So, I'm a little concerned because it's a residential street. We have had guidelines for that, and it's starting to set up a precedent for residential street, and it's around Fulton Houses, which unfortunately doesn't have a voice here. And so I don't know, for maybe what Robert is saying. I mean, I understand your point about the workers. I'm not concerned about too much noise from this applicant. I'm more concerned about, setting the precedent for that stretch of the street. And that makes me a little bit uncomfortable generally, even though we look at each of these applications one by one, what happens is that the next one's going to come and say, oh, this one is 4 o'clock, how come, blah, blah, blah. So that's where I stand. And I don't see anybody from Fulton Houses, but I don't think we should treat Fulton Houses any differently. We treat 50th Street or, 24th
Exactly.
Street. So that's where I am.
Fulton, just to clarify, Fulton Houses was on the email list about tonight's application?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, where I stand is that I definitely understand the concerns about being open till 4 for weekday nights. But given that the sound is so well insulated, Chelsea Market is just so unique in that way. We're only talking about potential street noise, and you have the Dream across the street already, and you have Tao there. It is a busy intersection. I mean, I think it's something for Michael to be super aware of, that it is residential immediately across the street, and whether that means, security should be out there certain, for the weekend nights when people are getting out. I'm not sure how to mitigate that, but I'm not as concerned about it being open on weekday nights because there's only the one housing complex there, and all of that noise is insulated in the space, with the exception of people leaving at night.
Yeah. The issue is not noise, Wendy.
No.
I agree with you. The issue is not noise. The issue is the possibility of lining up on the street and congregating on the street and hanging out.
There you go.
That's the issue. And that can be attended to.
Yeah, I would say
That can be attended to.
the biggest draw in that neighborhood between those hours, I've been on that corner many times researching this information, weirdly enough, is the pizza place. And they seem to get the customers in and out and moved along. And really, I think most of the people in that neighborhood line up in front of those hotels, whether they were at other places and they're staying in the hotel, just smoking a cigarette or eating something. But I can make sure that we don't have a line on the street past 2 o'clock, even if we had a 4 a.m. license. I can ensure that, because I would not want those people or anybody in the neighborhood to be unhappy about us operating that space. I have no problem with that.
That would be good to stipulate.
I think if we stipulate that, I would be okay with the 4.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
I'm fine with the 4
Yeah.
a.m.
For every day.
They just need to have some security out there, potentially from, midnight to 4 on nights where it's really busy.
Absolutely. No, not a problem. We would
But
stipulate.
yeah, I don't have a problem with the 4 a.m. in that location.
I do during the week. I wouldn't vote for it.
Okay. Do I hear a resolution?
Motion to approve with the stipulation added.
Okay, so let
Frank, do
me,
you want to do a summary, please?
let me read the steps
Mhm.
and make sure the applicant agrees. So in addition to the submitted form, we've added background live music, DJ, and karaoke. And then I have 4 additional steps. If the establishment has lines of patrons waiting to enter, operator will ensure that 8 feet of sidewalk space remains free for general pedestrian use. Front door to establishment will not be left open, but only open to allow patrons to enter and exit. Operator will utilize personnel to ensure that patrons do not loiter, gather, or smoke on surrounding sidewalks. And there will be no lines of patrons on sidewalks after 2 a.m. Michael, do you agree to all of that?
And they
Yes.
can have amplified music.
Sorry?
They can have amplified music.
Thank you.
Yes, there's no limitations on amplification.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Do you guys agree to
Quick
that?
question, are they gonna have
Motion to
amplified
approve.
music by the door?
No, it's actually on the other side of it's actually
No
as far away
speakers?
from the door as you can get.
So,
Okay.
Michael, do you agree to those stipulations?
Yes, yes, 100%.
Okay. Is resolution, Inga?
Yes.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Nellie, do we need to do a roll call, please?
Yes. Frank,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes.
Inga,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Morgan,
Morgan.
Morgan, you're on mute.
Morgan, you're on mute.
Morgan,
Yes.
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 Mike Noble,
Yes.
Rob Walker.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Nellie.
Very much. Bert, we've got the DOB people now.
I see we do have the DOB people.
Thank you very much.
Richard Rosen.
Good luck with your.
Thank you. Thank you,
Right.
guys.
Thank you very much.
And Ophelia is also on.
Yes.
So who do we have for, oh, there's Ophelia. Okay.
Yes, you have Ophelia and you have Richard Rosen, which is a project advocate.
Okay, now Ophelia, you're the senior liaison for Manhattan Department of Buildings,
Yes,
Office of
correct.
Community Engagement. Welcome.
Yes.
And Richard, you are,
I don't think you can hear
He's
me.
a project advocate for Manhattan.
project advocate. Okay. I'm not sure what that means, what project he's advocating. Is this specific?
Richard?
Can you unmute yourself, Richard? Oh, Nellie.
He's unmuted.
Okay. Richard, you want to introduce yourself?
He's next. He's in the kitchen drinking coffee.
No, he's actually at the office.
Oh my God.
As you know, there are a few essential staff that has to be there, and he's one of them.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, Ophelia and Richard are from the
Richard's got to
Department
give
of
his
Buildings.
computer permission to view this thing. He's got to
Okay.
go back to, he's got to log in again and give his computer permission to join the meeting.
Okay, well,
All right?
Ophelia is from the Department of Buildings, and she's here to explain, take a few minutes to talk with us and explain what the process currently is. This is not necessarily about liquor license, though attorneys be aware in terms of if there's any kind of physical modification of establishments that you represent, this would apply. Ophelia, do you want to go?
Yes, hi. Good night, everyone. Well, as you do know about the pandemic, there's a lot of changes within the department. We have reduced the number of applications that we receive, the amount of filing reps or walk-ins that comes in for us to process applications to reduce the in-person interaction. I'm just going to go over a couple of the service notices that the agency has issued for the public to make them aware of the new operating procedures going forward. The first one we do have is the permit renewal and extension. As of March 12th, permits remain effective until the end of term as far as the expiration date. If they are to be renewed, you can renew those applications online, those permits online. The second service notice is regarding application processing updates. So if you have an application that you'd like to file with the department, you can sign up for DOB now, and your licensed representative should be able to submit that application online and should be able to be processed. The third one, which I think is a big one for a lot of people, is the certificate of corrections to our administrative enforcement unit. A lot of businesses or, companies receive violations from us because we're an enforcement agency. And previously we would take walk-ins to handle those requests. Now we're taking those requests online to certify corrections. You would go to DOB now also for that. So everything we have now, we're trying to limit the public, as I say, and have everyone file on DOB now to actually submit their applications. We do have drop boxes for emergency situations, or if it's a situation where you do need the bar commissioner to review a document, that document can be submitted, dropped off in the drop box, and the staff would pick it up and process it. So that's our new way of doing business at the moment, until, you know, I guess time will tell if we're going to go back to, you know, the day-to-day activity as we usually do with the walk-ins and pulling applications in person and so forth. And that's all I have for you guys. If you have questions, please let me know.
Any questions for Ophelia? Christine?
Yeah, I have a question. Ophelia, is as far as setting up local law 11 and setting up what do we call that? The sidewalk sheds. Are you limiting the number of sheds that are set up? Because it's really a major issue on sidewalk for pedestrian space.
Well, actually, no. Sidewalk sheds are installed for the safety of the occupants of the building and for the public, right? The sheds are installed to protect falling debris from hitting pedestrians. So if a building is found to be defective where there's loose brick and it needs to be repaired, yes, we encourage, or we would like the owners to install those sidewalk sheds as soon as possible. So no, we're not going to be reducing the amount of sheds that are installed. If they're observed that there are repairs that needs to be done and it's unsafe, a shed is required.
Okay. Thank you. Any other additional questions? Well, thanks for coming by.
Thank you very much for having us.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Thanks.
We move on now to items number 2 and item number 3. We can combine them. How does that sound, Frank?
It's an excellent idea.
Okay. This is 111 8th Avenue, 4th and 5th floors. 111 8th Avenue is the Port Authority Inland Terminal number 1. That's how it was born. Now it's called the Google Building. Who's speaking for items number 2 and 3?
Lindsay, I unmuted you. You can speak now.
Oh, thank you, Nellie. So this is Lindsay Farina from the Skeen Law Firm on behalf of Restaurant Associates. I will start with 111 8th Avenue for the 4th and 5th floors. This is a currently licensed area within the Google building, as you mentioned. We are proposing alterations to the location. A brief description of the changes that we are seeking is that right now, all of the 4th floor, or excuse me, a portion of the 4th floor is licensed and a portion of the 5th floor. There is a bar that is shared between those 2 floors currently, which is located on the 4th floor. We would like to expand the portion of the 5th floor that's covered by the license and to add 1 bar into the 5th floor area. There would not be any proposed changes to the stipulations. All of the hours and the method of operation would remain the same as it is now. There are no outdoor areas and there's no entertainment included as part of the current operations. This is just a corporate catering facility, and it services Google employees and their guests only. It's not open to the general public. So I wanted to just check and see if you guys have any questions on that alteration.
Frank, did you have some questions about the capacity?
Yes, so just a couple things. The hours are varying a little. When we recommended approval of this back in 2015, the stated hours were 5:30 to 10. Now they say the hours will vary with event, but no later than midnight. So I think that's okay. I guess what's key to me is that they have a rider, as the applicant just said, that makes clear that all guests will be Google employees and they're registered guests. All guests will be chaperoned to located areas. Guests will gain building access with their Google badges. Lindsay, you attached that to only one of the two applications, but I assume that we can attach that to both, correct?
Yes, thank you. That's correct.
Okay. Now that's all I had, Bert.
Okay. The other application that Frank is referring to is number 3, which is upper floors, 13 and 15, right?
Correct. So the proposed alterations to that particular premises is that right now the license only covers the 14th and 15th floors, and it has one bar license between those two floors. We would be adding a portion of the 13th floor and also adding one additional bar on the 13th floor to service those block of floors.
Okay. Anybody from the committee with questions?
Bert, I did have a capacity question. Thanks for reminding me. Lindsay,
Oh.
5 years ago, you listed the maximum number of persons you anticipated occupying the premises as 220 on the 4th floor and 270 on the 5th floor. Now you're up to 1,044 and 407. Are you counting differently? Is that the capacity of the entire floor now, or can you tell us anything about the change in numbers?
I think the totals listed on our application came from the certificate of occupancy. So it might be that those were likely the totals for the entire floors instead of just the portions that are licensed. So I do apologize for that. Stuart Gonsaron is here. He's from the premises. He's from Restaurant Associates at Google. Stuart, can you confirm that the occupancy has not changed from our prior submission?
That is correct, Lindsay.
Thank
And I
you.
do believe you are correct about the certificate of occupancy numbers.
Okay, that's all I had, Bert, for either of them.
Okay. Any other committee people? Questions, comments? Okay,
Good catch on the capacity.
say that again, Inga?
Good catch on the capacity, Frank.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Wait, first, is there anybody here from the community who has anything to say?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Doesn't
Nellie,
look
do we have any? Doesn't look it.
No, no one has
Okay.
raised a hand or.
I'd like to make a
send a-
motion.
Go ahead. Oh, Christine?
I'd like
or-
to make a motion to,
So we have
Sorry, go ahead.
we have a motion and a second.
Okay, and that's a combining, we're bundling 3 and
Yeah.
3, 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Okay. Nellie, would you like to do the roll call again, please?
Yes. Frank,
Yes.
Inga,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Wendy,
Present not eligible.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes.
Morgan,
yes,
Mike Noble,
Yes.
Rob,
yes.
Okay. Thank you, Stuart, Lindsay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you
too.
very much, everyone. Stay safe and well. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our last applicant on the agenda, item number 4.
Thanks for dressing up for us, Max.
Yeah, you're the only one, Max, who's dressed up with a tie.
I know his client is too.
I wish I could say the same for
And a
all of
jacket.
you. But I want to start by saying I'm having some connectivity issues, I think. So if you're having trouble hearing me, I have a backup on my cell phone that's ready to go with cellular data instead of my poor Wi-Fi. So
We're hearing you.
hearing me? Okay, good. So if that changes, just let me know, okay? Because you won't have to suffer through it. And also, I just wanted to say before starting, Bert, welcome back.
Thank you.
You thought you can get away from us. You can't. So we're glad to have you back. So good evening, CB4. Max Bookman here. With me is Kenny Rosenberg. Kenny, you're on the line. Everybody sees. Just wave so everybody sees you. Yeah. I think you may be on mute for the moment, but if you're not, that's all right. So Kenny is the founder and the CEO of Centers Healthcare. For any of you who are not familiar with that very large and excellent organization, it is the largest.
You're cutting off.
In
Yeah.
English, is they. I am cutting off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just
Give me 1
you
minute.
can go back 2 sentences.
Give me 60 seconds, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just give me 1 minute. 1 minute. I'm gonna be right back. Don't go.
And Nellie, can you unmute Mr. Rosenberg if he's muted?
I think
And
he
also
was
move-
already
and
unmuted.
also-
I think he was unmuted.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, Max is away. Do you want to say something?
Well, wait, and also move Julia Campanelli into the meeting as a panelist. I think she's here to speak on this.
Yes.
Thanks.
Am I back?
Yes,
You're
Max.
back, Max.
Okay, I'm on my cell phone now, so apologies about that. So I'm not sure where I started getting cut off, but what I was saying is that Kenny is the founder and CEO of Centers Healthcare. And so anyone who doesn't know that organization, they are the largest post-acute healthcare group in the Northeast. And so what that means is they operate a number of facilities in the city, the state, and the region, all dealing with post-acute care. So that means nursing homes, assisted living facilities, short-term rehab facilities, and adult daycare facilities, just to name a few. Obviously, a lot of services are performed at those facilities, and one of those services is food service. So they serve 24,000 meals a day. Kenny and his company, that's made at spread over 50 production facilities that they have. They do a variety of food service concepts, depending on whether it's adult daycare or assisted living or a nursing home, variety of concepts. And they are heavily regulated by the state of New York. So that's Kenny's resume. The other thing that's relevant about Kenny as it relates to this application is that he's an observant Jew. And why that matters is because it's been a dream of his to go from feeding his residents and his patients to feeding members of his community. And so that's what brings us here tonight. He'd like to open a high-end kosher restaurant at this location. It's 315 West 36. That's between 8th and 9th. And it's a former OP. It was Staghorn Steakhouse. From my telling, Staghorn has been there since 2005. It's back far enough that I couldn't find any of your resolutions on it, but I'm sure there were at one point in time. So it's an OP to an OP. Someone at the beginning of the meeting wanted to know what the story is with our hours of operation, because we did note very early closing hours on Friday and very late.
I understand now.
Sorry? Oh, I thought I heard someone say something.
Max, he said Rob was the one who was asking the question on the hours. He says he understands it.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to mention anyway for anyone who hadn't noticed that piece of the application, because it's a kosher restaurant. Obviously, they're not working or operating on the Sabbath. There was one last minute correction we did want to make to those hours, which is we had put, I believe, opening other than on Saturday. We had put opening time as noon. We wanted that to be 11 a.m. instead of noon. Because if anyone wants to have an early lunch. So, but
every day, Max?
Every day except for Saturday.
Okay, and then Sunday, you're going to keep it 10 a.m.?
Yeah, if we had 10 a.m., we'll keep it there on Sunday. So like any high-end restaurant, any of the high-end kosher restaurants that I've done, no DJ, no live music, no operable windows, no promoters, none of the things that are typically of concern to this committee. We submitted some renderings with our submission. I hope you've had a chance to see them so you could see get a sense of the sort of the type of establishment is. And with that, we're here and we're happy to answer questions that the committee may have.
Frank?
Okay. As Max said, this has been previously licensed as the Staghorn Steakhouse. Nellie and I both tried to find any earlier stips and couldn't, so we believe it was probably licensed before we were doing the stipulation process. So we don't have any information about what hours are on the existing license. The sort of reports online had the Staghorn closing at 10 p.m., but we don't know how accurate that is, and it's likely their license was later than that anyway. We got one written submission from a community member, but she is now participating in the meeting, so I will let her make her points live when we get to that part of the meeting.
Okay, thanks, Frank. Christine, go ahead.
Clarification. So the hours that I have in front of me now say 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. So the closing is 2 a.m. across the week?
No, so the hours are, we want to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, opening at 11. We had put 12 on here, but we meant 11.
Yeah.
So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, opening at 11. Saturday, opening at 6 p.m. and Sunday opening at 10 a.m.
I'm talking more about the closing. The closing is 2 a.m. across the board?
Closing, we're asking for 2 a.m. across the board, except for Friday, of course, where we're closing at 7 p.m.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that because I was under a different impression. Okay.
Thanks for that. Any additional comments, questions from committee members? None? Morgan, that's your hand, right? Unmute yourself, Morgan.
Unmuted?
You're unmuted.
Yeah, I think it's time. That block is a little rough at late at night. Being out at night, I got caught on that block the other day on a bicycle. It'll be good to have something in Staghorn. Just wanted to make a comment.
Yeah.
Okay. And that block, refresh my memory. You probably know better than I do, Christine, Morgan. You're of the neighborhood closer there. It's a mixed block, right? There's a couple of hotels on that block.
Yeah, there are a couple of hotels and then small businesses, and then also some more like loft buildings, so a mix of commercial and residential.
Yeah. But there's a few, if I may, there's a few buildings apart. What do you call those? Sidewalk sheds, and I don't know why I had to stop and do something. My bicycle and a couple guys came at me, so it'd be good to have a nice active venue there with security cameras and whatever.
Right.
Sometimes sketchy, as they say.
Yeah.
That's the word. Okay. No other committee members? Then I would ask someone from the community, Julia.
Just to unmute.
Wait, you have to be, wait a second. You have to be unmuted by Nellie. Now you are unmuted.
Thank you. Julia Campanelli from the Pell's Kitchen Block Association. I have recently received many requests from restaurants that are going to be opening up in the area. And with the creation of Hudson Yards, there are a lot of restaurants on this side of us, and many of them are requesting after midnight closings. We are largely just west of 38th Street, a residential community. We don't want our community to be turned into a late night destination, much as it is down in the meatpacking district. Because of this, it would create much more pedestrian vehicular traffic after hours. We're already overwhelmed by the rowdy, inebriated crowds that come and attend Madison Square Garden events, Javits Center events, and soon Manhattan West and Hudson Yards events as the weather gets warmer and the lockdown finally ends. The community sits between Penn Station, the 7 train, and 4 Lincoln Tunnel approaches, all major transportation hubs. We're subject to an unusually high amount of vehicular and pedestrian traffic. Any type of traffic noise after midnight in our community is going to be very loud because of the lack of other ambient noise and the lack of sound absorbing materials. We don't have a lot of trees. If all of the new restaurants that are now applying for licenses set to open up in our area are permitted to operate past midnight, the quality of life of the residents will degrade. It has taken me personally over 4 years of negotiating with elected officials, the stakeholders in the community to curtail the late night noise in our community. I cannot sit by now and see our hard-won concessions of quiet evenings and weekends to be suddenly eliminated by the presence of late night revelers. I'm speaking from experience. I worked in the food and beverage industry in New York City for 10 years. I was also an event planner for 10 years. I know what late night establishments mean. It is a draw for people who are drinking. Most people don't eat between 12 and 2 a.m. They're drinking. This often results in drunken patrons vomiting, urinating on the sidewalks, fights, property damage, excessive amount of noise. We have been inundated with Hudson Yards with the amount of noise in our community. We want to avoid that. The later the close, the louder the noise. The community is asking the CB4 to consider the New York City noise laws and hold these restaurants to 11 o'clock. If we agree to 2 o'clock to this restaurant closing, we have to agree to all of them, and then we're just going to be a late night destination. This is something we're trying to avoid.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would any of the applicant or the lawyer would like to respond?
Sure, just a few brief comments in response. We did reach out to every block association and person on the list that the board provides us, and we did get this feedback from this block association. I would just say, look, I understand the desire to be principled, but I think the flip side of that coin is that this is one of the more, if not the most sophisticated licensing committees and on a community board in the city. I think the people on this committee are able to tell the difference between applicants that are a potential for trouble, for quality of life issues versus those that do not carry that potential. And I would say that a kosher restaurant, with seeking to, with a high-end clientele that's closed on Friday night and most of Saturday really just doesn't fit that bill. So the concern about drunkenness and revelers and noise, I just don't think you have reason to worry about that with this application. The only other thing I would add to that is I've done a few kosher licenses, and they do need, especially the high-end ones, they do need that slightly later hours of operation to make up for the fact that they are closed during what is typically the most money-making, time of the week, which is the weekend. I mean, they're closed Friday night and they're closed most of Saturday, so they do need to be open a little later so that they can make up for that. But make up for that in the food menu. There's going to be a high-end restaurant, so if you look at Saturday night, in a summer, headed towards the summer like now, if you look out your window, it's still light out, so people can't even start traveling to the restaurant until sundown. People are going to stay for a long meal. We need those later hours for that reason and all those reasons.
Max, I accept that this is a legitimate restaurant, not a front for something. But as someone who used to eat out late a lot, I guess I still find it surprising you think there's going to be clientele at 12:30 on a Monday or Tuesday.
Well, I think they're coming into this optimistic, but they feel there will be, and they want to be able to, they don't want to be kicking people out if someone's still there at 12:30 or 1, finishing up their meal. They don't want to be kicking them out and then handing them a very large bill.
Right, Julia, you should understand that the way we use the 2 a.m. closing hour, that means when the establishment has to be vacated of all patrons. It doesn't mean last reservation. It doesn't mean last call. Everyone but the staff has to be out the door by then.
Empty. It is empty of any patron. You have to be unmuted. Nellie, could you unmute Julia, please?
What we're concerned about is the vehicular and pedestrian traffic. To be completely vacated by 2 a.m., you have to start closing at 1 a.m. or 12:30 a.m. That's still going to be, what is the seating capacity? I wasn't able to open up the stipulations. Or
It
the
is
traffic.
estimated number of persons, including staff, is 175. There are 43 tables, 144 seats, and 1 stand-up bar with 11 seats at the bar.
Okay, that's a pretty big crowd. So on a Saturday night, you're opening at what time? You're after sundown? Max?
They're opening at 7 on Saturday.
Okay, 7, 8.
Okay, so you're
Sorry,
concerned.
So 8 hours, how many seatings do you plan on doing? In order to get to your restaurant, people will be traveling through our community. And it is that amount of traffic that we're concerned about. If we say yes to you, I appreciate that you're opening late on a Saturday night, but that's one night. If we say yes to you, we're going to have to say yes to all the other establishments that are now asking for these late closings.
Okay, committee people, Christine, please.
I'd like
Amy,
to.
okay, I mean, I want to respond to that. Just
Hold on.
Wait, I'm not following.
Yeah.
I think that was Rob.
Julia, I have been the strongest voice for, 11 o'clock close, etc. In that street on 36, and you should know that the state liquor authority wants us to approve things one by one. So, one decision for one restaurant doesn't make a decision for another one. Generally, I mean, they can ask, but we don't give. This one is very close to 8th Avenue and to the subway. So I would expect that most of the clients are going to come from 35th Street and, B&H, and also come where they have a natural, natural pool there, very smart, and then go east toward the, the restaurant, and then go on 8th Avenue for grabbing a cab or Uber or whatever. So, and then 36th Street during the day is the exit from the, from the Lincoln Tunnel, right? So the traffic is horrible, but when it gets to the evening, it just abates naturally because there's nobody coming from the Lincoln Tunnel. So the traffic shouldn't be really big, and it shouldn't be encroaching in the rest of the residential neighborhood, and with that location and the flow of things. And so for those reasons, and because it's so close to 8th Avenue and the block is fairly mixed use and more commercial than most, I would think that the 2 o'clock is probably not a big risk as far as, incursion into the residential quality of life.
Okay, Rob? Rob, are you about to say something?
I agree with everything that Christina just had to say, and I would like to make a motion to move this forward to accept the addended new opening hours of 11 a.m.
Okay, before we get to a resolution one way or another, Rob, I just want to check, is there anybody else from the committee who wants to ask a question, have a comment? Okay, Rob, so your resolution is?
To accept the terms, except for the 11 o'clock open.
Second.
What are you suggesting?
He's saying amend the
amend it.
hours
So
per
what's
the
being
request.
requested to
Yeah,
11?
for the request.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Where are you, Nellie? There you are. Roll call, please.
Frank,
Yes.
Inga,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Okay. I do want to emphasize, underline, put in bold what Christine said, that we do take each application on its own. And we're very aware of the neighborhood and tendencies to cluster, and that's why we take each application on its own. What happened around the corner 3 months ago does not necessarily affect what we do now with each application. Okay, thank you. Now we have one more item on the agenda. It's not an application. It's something that Christine wants to bring up.
Hey,
Thank you, guys. Good luck.
I wanted, it's Rob.
If you want to join us on that, that would be great.
I do. That's why I've been waiting.
Oh, good.
Okay, Rob, not Max, Rob.
Right.
Okay.
So the subject I was bringing to the group is that there have been some discussion, and there was an article today from Gothamist on the opportunity to help restaurants by letting them set out tables outside in the streets so that they can do, distancing, and how to manage that. And there is probably a task force working on that. And I just wanted us to have a little bit of a conversation about whether we have some specific concerns or requests. And then we could take those and put them in with the transportation committee, and then have a letter going out from that standpoint, if it's still relevant, because by then it could have been already discussed. But I thought it would be helpful to put it on the table. And so I think the concerns I have, or it's not concerns, I'm very much in favor of helping the restaurant reopen and take space in the street. I'm concerned about sidewalks, so I would want the space to be taken in the street bed, not on the sidewalks. And second, I think a discussion about hours of operation, whether they should be consistent with cafe hours, as they are today. And obviously music, which I would think we may not want to have music because then that's going to be a little bit overwhelming. So these are the three things I thought about very quickly, as far as if there was a package around that, that would be really good to help the restaurants.
I actually have an update for you that I was going to report on. So as usual, you're a step ahead of me, Christine.
Rob, what's your position in terms of the proposal?
So as you know, I'm counsel to the New York City Hospitality Alliance, which is the largest, organization representing a couple of thousand members in the city, restaurants, bars, nightclubs, the latest of my career of organizations. Andrew Ridgie, who you've probably seen him in the news, he's our executive director. So this topic is very much right on now. I've personally discussed this both with the SLA, the governor's office, and with Corey Johnson's office. And it's going to be a topic very soon. We don't think restaurants in New York City are going to be opening anytime soon. So the hope is that maybe we can get the summer for some outdoor dining, because it's probably not likely, quite frankly, that indoor dining is coming before Labor Day. Maybe I'm being a little pessimistic, but that's current thinking. My organization, the Hospitality Alliance, is actually going to, by Friday, sending out to every community board and every elected official a request for you to think about this, and request for input, because we know at the end of the day, this is not going to happen if it's going to be a war with community boards, and we're not looking for that. All of Christine's concerns are real, and we recognize that. Hours of operation probably need to be even earlier than sidewalk cafes if you're creating new areas, plazas, or a lane in a street, or new stone streets, for example. There's not going to be any lights, etc. So, but we want to ask every community board and local elected official, do you have any ideas? Do you have any streets or lanes in streets that you can identify that you might think would be interesting enough, whether it be a piece of a park, a plaza like in Times Square, a portion of a street, a lane in 8th Avenue, or Upper West Side, etc. So you'll be receiving that, I say, in the next few days. We know community boards have a process, and it's going to take some time to get feedback, and we're going to set up a website where all of you can, get us your feedback, and we're going to be sharing this with the governor's staff. Andrew is on this. Not only is he on the mayor's committee, he's on the governor's committee for re-envisioning how things will open. So we want to work closely with you guys in figuring out if this is possible at all.
I have a question. The way you just described it, Rob, you said, do you have a plaza? Is there a open space? Da, 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 da. I was envisioning when I first read Gotham this afternoon that there's a restaurant existing and they want to use some of the street space in front of it. But what you're saying is that that restaurant maybe, if there's a little plaza around the corner, can use that plaza, not necessarily the street in front of the existing restaurant.
Correct. We do have 1,300 licensed sidewalk cafes in the city of New York, the bulk of which are in Manhattan. So clearly, if the city and the governor decides that it's safe to have outdoor dining before indoor dining, that's a no-brainer. Those cafes will open. But as far as re-envisioning any other space, yes, we're looking more towards, are there potential limited for 60, 90 days, potential stone streets, or in Times Square, can we take a piece of that plaza and have the nearby local restaurants get permission from all the government agencies to have a piece of that plaza and serve in that plaza, or a lane, and have a pop-up series of cafes on a lane on a street where there are nearby restaurants, not necessarily contiguous. Obviously, a lot of coordination. I spoke to CB2. They, for example, one person there said, well, 8th Street would be perfect for us to have a temporary stone street, but buses go down 8th Street, so that's out. So, I mean, there's a lot of considerations here. It can't be a street that is required for buses or emergencies, but we can't put it on a residential street for obvious reasons either. We're not, not
Yeah,
easy.
I just want to say one more thing. I'm just trying to envision it for our neighborhoods, Chelsea, Hell's Kitchen. We're in the grid. We're not CB2, which has wandering streets, or Stone Street downtown, which is a short street, We're in the grid. We're either a residential street or a north-south avenue.
What about the triangle down there? And then also, isn't it like a plaza under the High Line? I mean, there are 2 or 3 little spaces that
there are a couple of
together.
We could probably etch out, but I'm thinking we have so many restaurants. Okay, I know Sabrina and Inga want to speak.
Go ahead, Sabrina.
Thank you, Inga. I'm just curious about maybe the space that the closest streets. Would that be part of this idea, maybe, that I mean, that's still not approved, but I'm thinking, like, for example, I live in 50th and 9th, so 51st is one of the streets that could potentially close. So we'll be using that space for the restaurants outside in the 9th Street. And my other comment, it's, we're going to be possible to drink alcohol, or it's just for food?
No, for both.
For both, okay.
The idea is, if we can get the city to, and the mayor's office is, and Polly Trottenberg already said today they're thinking about it. If they can come up in conjunction with, with community boards and the industry with some locations, the governor decides it's safe, the liquor authority has already said that, they'll make whatever temporary emergency changes are necessary, most likely, if the governor, says it's okay. So the idea would be for both. But I think we're mostly talking about daytime and evening, it can't be late. There's not going to be lighting, So, I think it would be probably earlier than sidewalk cafes, actually.
Okay. Inga and Brian, are you trying to say something?
Yeah, my
Okay, so
concern
let's
with
Inga's first. I'm sorry. I saw you encased in yellow, so I was just wondering. Go ahead, Inga.
I have been tweeting about this for days now. Jeffrey LaFrance, I can't say his last name. Yes, thank you. He's on our board. Jeffrey and I have been going back and forth. We finally come to some agreement on this on Twitter, and I'm for it, but I think the sidewalks need to be kept free because people need to be able to walk, and we need to be very, so these restaurants need to be in the street, and the sidewalks need to be kept free for elderly people, handicapped people, and also bikes. You can't have the bikes then using the sidewalks. They do it already, but it'll make it worse. So there has to be some kind of enforcement so that you don't have all these bikes literally running over people, elderly people on the sidewalk. And then I think 9th Avenue in Chelsea, where we live, between 23rd and say, I don't know, 21st, it's very wide, and the turnoffs, you could take a section of 9th Avenue and still leave enough room for buses and vehicles and have restaurants use that space. There are a lot of little restaurants that could use it.
Yeah.
We feel you guys are the experts on your neighborhoods. Nobody knows them better. We feel your heart is in the right place. You all want to do whatever you can to preserve, your existing establishments in your neighborhood. We know that. We know that. And there's a real fear that it's not going to be the same, that there's going to be massive losses. So that's why we're going to be sending out this survey. Be on the lookout for it. You probably get it Friday or Monday.
Are you sending it to residents, like community groups?
No. We're sending it to community boards, because we're our points of contact. And it's different in the outer boroughs than it is. Everybody's politics is a little different. So we're sending it to every community board, every council member, every state senator, and every assembly person, and every borough president.
Okay, Brian.
Jeffrey wants to close every street in the city.
Brian?
Yeah, I'm absolutely for the restaurants taking the spaces outside their establishments in the street. I think a concern with a public plaza or a park is that it will become like a smorgasbord or a Union Square, a farmer's market, where it would just be inundated with people, and you just wouldn't be able to control the crowds or the restaurants.
That's a fear.
Okay, Christine.
So yeah, what you all said is great. One thought was, on 9th Avenue, as Inga says, taking one lane of traffic all the way from the top to the bottom, and say, okay, that's the lane for all the restaurants.
Yeah.
And each of them who wants a piece of it gets a piece, right? And then you go from the kitchen to there, and you can put umbrellas, you can put whatever you want, and it's not so different from the street seats, which is a program of the DOT, except we could do it in the middle of in the middle of the avenue, because you would have to be. So I think that that sounds like a really nice idea and something where everybody could come together.
It keeps the sidewalks.
It would have to be.
What about 8th Avenue? What do you guys think about 8th Avenue? The bottom part of 8th Avenue in Chelsea, where you have had so many problems of keeping people, busy there.
I think below 23rd Street, yeah, it could work.
Yeah.
One lane. I mean, there's that. You don't see.
9th Avenue is ideal.
You don't see them much in New York, but outside New York, I know in other cities, they have the program where it's sort of like they take part of the street adjacent to the sidewalk, and it's like an outdoor cafe.
Yeah, and the sidewalks are free.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen
No,
it
I
in
think we have to
Philadelphia.
Right.
Yeah.
If anyone remembers Stone Street down, they do that on Stone Street.
On
They
Stone
take the
Street?
entire
Yeah.
street and all the
Stone Street is
restaurants.
like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's still very limited. But I know that the DOT, some people inside the DOT are really excited about that, and they want to take that
great
opportunity.
idea.
So I think we have some lies there, which is why I want to bring it here and then bring it to the transportation committee and say, what do you think? You know.
And the mayor could sometimes be a little, high-handed, and we as an alliance respect the community board process. So we want to get this out to you. We're going to ask if it's possible to try to start getting some ideas back within a couple of weeks. We know because of the committees, it could take longer. But whatever input you could give us, we respect your ideas.
Rob, is the thing you're sending out like a detailed questionnaire, or is it just give us your ideas?
It's going to be like a one-page memo which basically just says what I just said, and it's going to give a link to basically a website that we've created where you guys can, basically put in specific streets or concerns or whatever data you want, and we'll be gathering and collating all that data from around the city.
Right. Sabrina?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the summer festivals that we do in 8th Avenue, 42nd to 55.
57, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have buses going down there, so we could also potentially put restaurants there. I mean, there's not so many restaurants on 8th, and we have 9th Avenue and Hell's Kitchen, but there's something that can be worked out.
On the portion above, on the top,
Yep.
right, there are more there, yeah.
I think, Rob, that we may be able to, with this, some ideas to go to the transportation. Has transportation met yet this month?
No, we are meeting, I think, next week.
Okay, so we may
That would
actually
be
have
perfect.
something, we may have something at the full board meeting.
Yeah.
That would be excellent. Thank you so much.
Which
I
is-
was going to reach out to you guys until Max told me it's on your agenda anyway. We just actually, within the last 24, 48 hours, after speaking, with Corey Johnson, who, as you know, has been really pushing these open streets. So tomorrow, the council is meeting. They're passing, thank goodness, a whole bunch, you should know, of positive small business legislation that I've been advocating for. They're waiving sidewalk cafe fees for the rest of the year, which is reasonable since we can't use the sidewalk cafes anyway. But they are capping the delivery fees, which is something we've really been
that's great.
desperately. Other cities have done. New York is doing it as well. It'll be a 5% cap on transmitting an order. But we didn't want to hurt the actual delivery guys. So if you're a delivery company that's actually doing the delivery as well, like DoorDash or Uber Eats, you could charge 15% for the actual delivery, but it's a 5% cap if you're just transmitting an order like Seamless does. They're also, very importantly, passing the first in the nation, a bill which would prohibit landlords from enforcing personal guarantees on commercial leases if the business was closed as a result of a government order. We have a lot of small business owners, restaurants and others that are fearful they can't pay their rent. Technically, they're in default in their lease because they're in possession of the premises. And the personal guarantees, which wasn't designed for a situation like this, says if you're in possession of the premises, we can go after you personally for the rent. That's to stop somebody who's going to go out of business in 6 months from stopping to pay the rent. But here we have people who haven't paid April rent. They were deciding whether to turn in the keys permanently for May and again for June. This bill would say you can't go after somebody's house or their personal savings if they're technically in possession, but they can't they can't pay the rent because of government order. And a couple other bills like that, making it illegal to harass a tenant who is closed because of COVID-19, and actually making it a fine for these third-party companies to charge a restaurant for a phone call that did not, in fact, result in an order. And there's been a lot of that. It will be a $500 fine each time they do that. So the burden will be on them for once, not on us, to try to find it. So all that's happening tomorrow. And then Corey does want to turn his attention to this idea of outdoor dining.
Okay.
So thank you so much for listening to me. The businesses appreciate it. You'll get this in a couple of days.
Right.
You guys are going to be ahead of the curve here because we had this coincidence tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Rob, for being here. Thank you.
Anytime.
So,
Anytime.
Bert, I guess I think we should make some recommendations to the Transportation Committee. I agree with Christine's 3 points: no music, limited hours, and the streets, not the sidewalks. In fact, I told Christine this, when I was in Florence recently, the sidewalks are so narrow their sidewalk cafes actually are in the streets,
They
like
have to,
those
right.
little street park things we have. I guess my preference too would be that they be on avenues,
Yeah.
not the side streets. So I don't know if we want to specify that.
Well, in our neighborhoods, I definitely would say in the avenue,
Avenues,
but
yeah.
but I would not necessarily say that for another district.
Right.
For us,
Actually,
not
Ninth
on the
Avenue is
streets.
Perfect.
I think 8th and 9th are the prime because that's where the restaurants are. So it should be not too far away from them. I presume you don't want to see people, you know, walking around from.
I mean,
yeah.
And even, you know, don't forget the southern part of our CB4 includes also 7th Avenue.
yeah, and 10th Avenue along, you know, it's very wide.
Yeah,
I think
down there, yes.
22nd down, maybe.
Well,
But
we can
Tenth
go from
has a nautical
23rd.
kitchen and restaurants.
Yeah, we can go down from 23rd. I mean, we know the
Yeah.
corridors where we have restaurants, right? So anywhere where we have restaurants. And so what about 6? Is 6 very...
Well, we only have the
They only have the west
east side. I mean, the west side of 6th
But that's my question. Is it...
There aren't many really restaurants.
No,
Okay.
no.
So 7 would be a better place.
Yeah, there are restaurants on 7,
Mhm.
20 at 21st Street,
Yeah.
20th Street,
Yeah.
on the west side of 7th,
Yeah. So 23rd and South, I think. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, I think we may want to say something about Brian's point too. And maybe, Brian, I don't know if this would work, that if they use things like parks, that it be, not parks, but plazas, that it be a limited confined area and limited to, you know, socially distanced seated patrons, so you don't get people milling around. Or we
Yeah,
just,
So we don't have enough.
or something like reservation only.
Yeah. 'cause we
Well,
don't
I think we
enough
have so
space.
little amount of parks
Well, I
and
don't think we
plaza.
should take
I
them.
think
One
we are
at a
better
time,
off
folks.
keeping it off.
Yeah.
Because if it goes on and then it becomes like, you know, oh, we had it, we want to keep it. You
don't
want to
want
keep
them
those
there.
areas for the public
Okay.
and not those.
okay.
Inga?
We definitely, I would not suggest the plazas, the parks, because we have so little, like Christine said to begin with. I think the avenues are the best place. Just don't let Jeffrey in on this because he wants to close every street in New York.
Inga, I think I'd go further.
Right, Morgan?
I wouldn't just say don't mention the plazas. I think we should affirmatively say
No.
we have so few of them. We don't.
Yeah, no plaza, no plaza.
No. Yeah, I would say no.
Morgan?
I'm somehow weaving the precincts. My biggest concern from a hospitality end, and Rob is gone, is enforcing some kind of security or something. Again, I ride my bicycle with bags on the handlebars, and I got bothered on 30, whatever. Got to think about the streets being open on 44th Street, Frank. You know, we're trying to get it open. Our Block Association, as for Christine's Checkpeds organization and the application. And I'm just thinking about enforcement for restaurants. 9th Avenue between 44 and 45. There are most commercial spaces on both sides are restaurants. How would they all have access to a space in the street? How do they get food there? And that seems to be a congregation point for a lot of people who need social services. I'm really hungry. Can I hang out with you, kind of thing? You know what I mean? Anyways, something to weigh in on, some kind of maybe it's obviously up to the street block associations when it comes to enforcing social distancing and keeping crowds and clustering. How do restaurants do that when they are trying to serve food? And if I'm a customer out in the middle of 9th Avenue having food from one of the venues, how much of that do we have to be responsible for as a community board operation to assist these venues that do choose to take advantage of it? That's all.
That's complicated, yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to make it complicated, but
No, I can see where the frictions could be and what needs to be done about that. I think, you know, my gut feel say it's for an interim period. We just plunge, right? We just dive into it and then we see how it works and we
I
learn.
want to throw something out to you, Christine, as if landlords are going to be offering anything, and not just Christine, but you know, I've stuck my foot in my mouth so many times with paid detail. But what about a nocturnal bid or a nightlife bid or a hospitality bid or just a bid of some sort? Like I mean, I'm thinking of a bid that works with the juggernaut industry in this city, which is real estate, but also keep in mind that it needs those commercial rents, and it can go forever, this conversation, but
right.
some kind of bid. And if every block area had these bids, like down by where Rick's Cabaret is, we have that bid, and there are always people out sweeping separate from the city's agencies that clean the streets.
But I think that's, if I translate that into this operation, right, which is, you are talking all of it, and now let's talk just about if they are the restaurants and they are all on the floating lane in the streets,
right?
You know, we may recommend as part of this package that the restaurant association or the city has a paid detail, not a normal cop, but a paid detail that helps for you know, enforcement of whatever happens, like a bid. You know, this is like a non-form bid, which has a bid function.
That's why I threw it out there. And
right.
I know it's an old, you know, dead horse as I drag around the pay detail,
that's a good
but
one.
I think it's an idea to help these commercial spaces that are under incredible pressure, as we all are. But, you know, and if when it comes to social distancing, if I've got to 6 feet away from the person I'm dining with, anyways, thanks for listening. Those are my ideas.
Brian and then Sabrina.
Hand up, Bert.
Where are you?
Sabrina's first. She could go.
Oh, thank you.
Actually,
Michael, do you
my
want to
hand was
speak
up
also?
in participants for a while now, Bert.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Yes.
What? Say that again, Michael.
I said I've had my hand up in my participants.
Sorry, I didn't notice it. Okay,
yeah.
So Michael.
Because unfortunately, I've got to run off, so I got to say just one last word. I'm sorry. Pardon me, Sabrina. One thought about arterial streets like 10th Avenue, where there are lots of restaurants with wide sidewalks and no ability to really put a table in the street like that. So I think about the ones in the 40s on 10th Avenue. We should give them the ability to open their restaurants on the sidewalks.
Yeah.
You know, you've got the bike lanes and all that other business where people can actually walk like they do all the time anyway. Use the sidewalks for those folks as well, is my idea. Huh?
Okay, Sabrina and then Brian, and then let's try to come up with a wrap up.
I'm just concerned about, like, so are we wearing masks while we are dining out? How's that gonna work too? Are we drinking with straws inside of our mask? Because I've been thinking about this a lot. I mean, not to point them out, but in my 9th Avenue, where I live, 50th, I have 2 bars where they're selling alcohol, and there's people lingering outside drinking. And, you know, and they're just like, they're drinking and their masks are out. And then I'm like, well, they're waiting for the takeout, but it's, you know, it's been happening a lot in the last 2 weekends that the weather has been nicer, not so much this week, but the week before that. So I'm just concerned, like, okay, what are the stipulations on that? How are we going to manage, like, you know, they're drinking, like, how's their gold masks going to be? Like, again, it's just a thought. I don't really have a lot.
What I have heard from other cities and countries is the way they're trying to operate is if you're seated at a table, you can take your mask off, but when you get up to go to the restroom or anything like that, you have to put a mask on. So I would hope this would be something like that anyone being served had to be seated at an approved distance and, you know, had to have a mask whenever they left where they were seated. But, you know, that's just speculation.
Yeah. Brian.
I don't know if I have an opinion on this yet, but it sort of creates have and have nots. If 10th Avenue is closed and 9th Avenue is open and so is 8th, then 10th Avenue restaurants get screwed. So
No, yeah, I was writing it down for 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Yeah.
But either like any avenue that's not open to the public that has a restaurant or a side street, those get screwed. So does the open space that's on 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th, does it get bidded on for restaurant space, or does the restaurant right in front of it automatically get that spot?
I don't know. I think for that, we let the restaurants figure it out between themselves. This is not, this is once we say you can have that space, and that's our job to tell them you have that space, and these are the constraints. Then how they fight between themselves on how many places, I think they have to figure that out between themselves.
Yeah, like if there's a restaurant, I'm thinking on 24th Street. There's a restaurant right in from 9th Avenue on 24th Street.
Right.
But if something opens up on 9th Avenue, can they put their tables out on 9th Avenue? How do they do that?
Yeah. Well, once we tell them this is, the question for them is, the question for them is going to be what's the space I have to deal with?
Yeah.
Once we say this is the space, then they can spend their time figuring who bids first, who doesn't, blah, 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 etc.
Christine, I think you should flag, though, in whatever comments we make, that on places like 9th Avenue, we do have blocks that are highly saturated with restaurants. So they will have to give some consideration to allocation of space among, all the establishments. I don't think we take a position, but I think it's worth flagging the issue so people don't think automatically, oh, every restaurant can just have the stuff in front of its storefront.
Right.
How do we want to deal with what we've been just talking about?
Well, I just made
Do we want to put up come to a resolution and vote on it?
Yeah, I made a list.
Okay.
The list says.
I got a question real quick.
Go ahead, Rob.
How long do we intend to permit this to go on? I mean, are we going to continue this even after Corona's in our rearview mirror? Are we going to stop this maybe 3 months after social distancing and all the roads have been reopened?
I don't think we can answer that question right now.
Okay,
because just the idea of the Corona in the rearview mirror, take a deep breath. It's not going to happen in the next couple of months.
No. I definitely agree. But is this going to wind up being a permanent thing, 3-4 years from now? And Corona was in our rearview mirror 2 years ago. That's all I'm asking.
I think it becomes a city and a state decision.
And it's possible that in some location it goes on.
It may work.
Some others it doesn't, because it could be that in a block of 10th Avenue, people say, it works. Let it go.
It might be an improvement in the community.
But then is the landlord going to charge extra rent for that person because they know they've got the extra space out front?
Well, that's a good question.
That's something that we're not going to be able to answer right either. I mean, that's a good question, Rob. But right now, let's just focus on what we can conceive of in terms of the physical parameters, the geographic locations.
I'm throwing that stuff out for people to think about. That's all.
It's there to think about.
Vote on.
Thank you. But let's stay with this right now. Christine, could you continue?
So I had the Avenue 7, 8, 9, 10, not on the sidewalk, cafe hours or earlier, because Rob said it could be possibly earlier. Right. No music, security paid details for a number of blocks, like a common pool of money to pay for the security, maybe from the restaurant association or from the city. And then mention the consideration, the mask and the security if you're not seated. I mean, the point that it's happening in other countries, so we can just mention that.
And the issue that Brian brought up about the use of plazas.
Oh, no plaza, right.
No plaza.
Right.
And no side streets.
No side streets, no plazas, and no parks.
Stipulations on the mask when we're seating.
The mask, and then the consideration of the allocation of space, the point you were making. And then I think we could say if it's going to become permanent, it needs to come back for discussion and approval. It cannot just go from here to permanent without
That's a good way to take care of what Rob's concerned.
Right. So
I wouldn't even say permanent. I might say, do we put a time limit on it? I mean, 5 years isn't permanent.
Wait. Let's talk about it this way. For this season.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can't have this in November.
Yeah, it's
Okay?
going to be
So
gone
it's
in
for
November.
this season, which is
That
something
works.
to foresee.
Yeah. Very
Past
good.
this season, we have no idea.
Right.
To review
So that
next,
would
next
be-
season, to review next season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So that would be the terms that we could take from, if we vote on that, we would take that into transportation and discuss those avenues. I mean, not the other
Okay.
terms and condition, but those avenues, you know.
So I have a question actually.
Ask
Is this only for restaurants that do not have sidewalk cafes? Or
Yeah.
are we going to
Yeah.
say that it's okay for people who have sidewalk cafes and also get part of the street?
No, I think we would say that if you have sidewalk cafe, you have to move it in the street.
Yes, yes. So the sidewalks are completely open for people.
Okay.
That's a good.
Yeah.
And
And
as it
most
is now, Nellie, the sidewalk cafe configurations
Mhm.
probably would
Aren't-
not be allowed.
And
because
there's
they're
not
close
enough.
together.
They're not big enough.
No, I just want to make sure because I
That's
don't,
a good
I
one.
can foresee
Yes.
a restaurant saying, I don't have a sidewalk cafe. Why can't I have more space outside if this restaurant has sidewalk cafe and is using and wants to use the street as well?
No,
No,
the,
that's a
the
good-
sidewalks have to be open for pedestrians and no bikes on the sidewalks.
Okay.
Of course, that has to do with enforcement. No bikes
Yeah.
on the
Well,
sidewalk.
that's the different thing. So if we want to make a motion on that, then
I
we
make
can-
a motion to write a letter with transportation.
right.
Okay.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
We want to do a roll
Second.
call, Nellie?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Frank,
Yes.
Inga,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Rob.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, we had 100% attendance today.
Whoa.
I don't think we've had that for a long time.
It's very possible that June, we're going to be doing this the same way.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Very good. Thanks so much.
And hopefully in June, if I'm here, I won't look out my window and see snow.
Can I say one thing?
Inga is going to say
Oh.
something.
Yes, Inga, I know I think of what you want to say. Go ahead.
I have resigned from the board.
Oh.
I know I have just too much going on. I'm starting a new job on Monday and I need to focus. It's in an industry that I've never worked in before. I've been in finance for 30 years. I am going to be working for FC Bayern Munich, the soccer team. And so
Wow. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Congrats.
I feel like a kid with a dream come true job. So I've taken a pay cut happily. Luckily I can do that and I'm so excited, but I need to focus because I have no idea what I'm going to be doing. I'd like to stay on, but I just really need to just focus everything on that. I have asked Lowell to either stay on ACES as a public member or I'd really like to stay on BLP as a public member. It's up to you guys and Lowell, we'll see, but I think that's all I can handle right now, just because I may come back in a year and rejoin, but I need to just focus on a career that I have no idea what I'm doing.
Congratulations and good luck.
Yeah.
Bravo.
And
If we
your
need to
voice
vote
is-
for you to be a public member, just yes, you got my vote.
Maybe Frank and Bert need to say something to Lowell. I don't
Okay,
know. But
And we want tickets, right?
yeah.
You're not moving to Germany, are you?
No, but I will be going once a year to hang out with the team. So
Wow.
A groupie.
This is so cool.
I know
What's
it's
your
the coolest thing
what-
ever.
What's your position going to be?
I'm going to be working for the president. So, and with the marketing director. So I have no idea yet. I start on Monday and
Well, I presume you are fluent in German, right?
it's not required, but I am. So it's a bonus. Because I have to deal with the board of directors in Munich because everything comes through headquarters.
And what's the name of the team?
Bayern Munich?
Bayern
Oh,
Munich.
Bayern Munich.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, they're the number one.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
they're the best.
Yeah, and they have the gorgeous goalie who I've been in love with since he was 12.
Wow, that's awesome.
Now we're getting to the bottom of it, right?
So yes, finance is gone, and I decided to do something else. So
Oh, it is
that's
so
that's
funny.
why I'm stepping down from a lot of things, because I have just too much. So, yeah.
Oh, so good
Hopefully I'll be
luck.
around
Stay
as a
in
board
touch.
member.
Okay.
Exciting.
I'll see
Congratulations,
you
Inga.
one more time for the full board, and then that'll be it.
Okay.
All
Be
right.
well, everybody.
No, miss you.
Bye.
Have a good night, everyone. Stay safe.
Night.
Thank you, Nellie.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Nellie.
Thank you, Nellie.
Leave a message.
Thank you, Nellie. Night, everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Night.